So unfortunately, in today's market, something very common is the question, why isn't my home selling? Especially if we are still in a seller's market. So to start, number one, let's define a seller's market. What a seller's market means is that the amount of inventory or available homes that are on the market now is less than or equal to 5 months of inventory. Now, what does that mean? That means if no new homes hit the market, how long will it take for all the homes on the market to sell? And on average right now in the Denver metro area, we have about as much inventory as some neighborhoods are 1.5 months and some neighborhoods are 5. There are some that are above 5, so be careful. There are some markets within the Denver metro area and surrounding that are actually in a buyer's market. But overall, we're still in a seller's market, but then why isn't it selling? So number one reason, of course, is that with all the economic conditions going on right now, with the interest rates being high, affordability is a challenge, and so that equals your price. Most folks right now are using a loan. It's how it is. If you're selling a home over $2 million, it's about 45% are using cash, but under $2 million, it's about 75, depending on the neighborhood, to as much as 95% of the homes are using a loan. And if the payments, and most folks are payment driven, they're not price driven. They talk about the price, they talk about the interest rate, but at the end of the day, the check that they're writing, that's what matters if they're gonna buy a house or not. So number one, that's affecting if your home is selling or not, is the actual price of your property and the payment. Recently, I helped a client sell, and that client was blown away because they did a rent back, and their monthly mortgage payment was $2,800 a month. And as part of our rent back, we paid the payment of the new buyer, which was over $6,000 a month. And so $2,800 to over $6,000 a month. That's obviously going to present an affordability challenge. So your price, what can you do to fix that? So there are some tips and techniques that we use to make it so that how we price your property affects how it's marketed. I'm doing this little up and down thing because imagine if this is, for simple numbers, $1 million. And if your home is at $1 million, you're going to hit everyone that's looking at $1 million up, or $1 million to 1.1 or $1 million to 1.2. If they're also looking from 900 to $1 million, you're going to hit them. The other thing is maybe it's better psychological pricing, so just below $1 million. And so at $999, it's we all know that like $999, it's effectively $1 million, but psychologically it's not. And that allows us to potentially attract other buyers who are scared by that big starting number, and that works for any price point. It could be $499 instead of $500. It could be $799 instead of $800. And so there are some tips and things we can do to adjust your price to attract the most interested parties. Number two, so if you're really concerned about your price and you really don't want to make those changes, well, what else is affecting why your house is not selling? And that has to be how it shows and how accessible it is. I've sold some properties for folks that work night shifts and they sleep from 10 a.m. until like 4 p.m. That means that during those time windows, those are all blocked off. Well, most showings happen during the weekday between about 2:30 and about 7:30 at night. So for that client, it just blocked out part of a window. Well, I had another client that they actually worked from home, and that meant that 3 or 4 days a week, we had to completely block off those showings. Well, then that's gonna limit the amount of people that can come in and look at it. And there's a chance, as silly as it sounds, that somebody might be in a hurry, and if they don't get into the property at one time, they're not gonna come back. It happens. It's silly, but it happens. And so we wanna make sure that the properties are accessible. And then of course, how do they look? What's the condition like? Because the reality is that any home can sell for a big range in price, all depending on what that condition is. And so a lot of what we work with our clients on is to do touch-ups on the properties, to stage it, and to really compare it to the other homes that have sold to make sure that our price and our condition make sense, or really that our condition matches where we want our price to be. And so number two, you gotta really look at how accessible is it, and then what is that price or what is that condition? Because that's really gonna affect what people feel of the house when they walk in. Okay, so now that we've got the first two, number three, which sometimes is the first place that we start, is your marketing strategy. Just because you've got your home on the market does not mean that it's effectively being viewed by all the potential buyers. As silly as this sounds, part of our job is literally just double checking if we're gonna search for a home as a buyer, does it appear where we want it to? Is it showing up on the MLS, on realtor property websites, which is called an IDX feed? Is it showing up on Zillow, Redfin, Homes.com, Realtor.com? All of those. Are the social media ads getting out there? Are those ads being viewed? We check, are they being viewed? We check, are they being clicked on? We check, are they being clicked on in more depth? Because then we can also retarget to them. Because every now and then, as silly as this sounds, something happens and it may not even be in our control, and we have to call like a Zillow as a service provider and find out, why is this listing not showing up properly? And so your marketing can make a difference. If you've got a property that has some uniqueness, and of course every home is unique and different, but let's be honest, if you're in a neighborhood that has a lot of tract homes, that's not necessarily attracting a very unique buyer unless it has a unique situation. Example being, we sold a home a little while ago in Aurora. It was just a very nice house, nothing super special about it, but in the backyard, it had an oversized 5-car detached garage on top of the garage they had in the house. And they had extra electrical. So we started looking at, okay, who does this make sense to market to? Well, in my mind, toy enthusiasts, car enthusiasts, and we were actually able to find some specialty publications, and we ended up getting 2 offers, one from a welder who needed all the space in the electrical, and the other from a classic car renovation expert. And they really kind of looked at the house as almost like a afterthought. They were really looking at the garage. That's one example. There are other examples. It could be a pool, it could be a view that is a specialty item that we can really lean in on that specialty to make sure that your marketing is impacting the right people. So to wrap up, I hope you've gotten some value out of the 3 different things that are probably the reason that your home might not be selling right now. And if you're curious about your home's value in today's market and what it would look like to sell in today's market, please let us know. We'd be happy to do a complimentary analysis and get you that information so that you have that knowledge and are empowered to make that decision if selling is the right thing for you. So have a great day. Look forward to seeing you on the next video blog.